Hello and welcome back to the Clock End Taproom. We're doing another fun one. If you listen to last episode where we got into Chelsea and Man City, that was cheery, but it was good fun in a lot of ways to record. So go back and listen to that one if not. We're going to cover FIFA today, so even murkier stuff potentially. But first, we are going to get into Arsenal transfers. We're going to look at outgoings today. We looked at ingoings, we looked at Vinny, we looked at Bruno, potentially others. But let's look at outgoings. We have made a sale, blockbuster. Christian Jorgaard to Everton. Was it 7 million or 8 million?
Seven,
that range, wasn't it? 7 million, yeah. He was still on the bench, wasn't he? He wasn't playing, but he was on the bench after it had been announced the other night, and that was sort of interesting. But yeah.
Even in a friendly, you couldn't get on, bless him.
Yeah. And thoughts on this one? It was always going to happen, wasn't it? There was nothing. I mean, the fee feels fine, doesn't it, for a Premier League journeyman? Should we call him now? I guess.
Some journey.
Yeah, champion. There he is.
Look at that.
There's just nothing about signing this guy makes any fucking sense to me whatsoever.
What a guy!
When we signed him, right? I genuinely was excited. I was like, what a great thing to do. He's not going to play loads of games. I totally get that, but he's going to bring, experience. He was he captain at Brentford as well?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to bring leadership and all that kind of stuff. I thought, yeah, I would have been happy to see him on the pitch as well. I genuinely a very, very good player. I still think he's a very good player, but the fact that we signed him and just did fuck all with him, like, well, what was the point? What I don't understand.
You look at the state that our midfielders ended the season in, like Zubimendi and Rice were done by the end of the season. How was he not getting 20 minutes here, half an hour there? Nuts. Playing all the cup games, it makes no sense, does it? How we used him last year?
Absolutely not. I tell you what, though, Everton are getting a player there, good player. Good bit of business for them. I think he'll do really well. I really do. I wouldn't say I'm sad to see him leave. I'm not upset or anything like that. But I do feel a little bit sorry for him. But I'm saying I feel sorry for him. Look at the picture. What's to feel sorry about? Do you know what I mean? As far as he's concerned, came, saw, conquered, seen a bit.
Yeah. As I say, it's just bizarre from an Arsenal point of view that he didn't at least get some sort of action last year, was it? Honestly, don't remember him playing. I'm sure there's something came on. I do not remember any moment of him on the pitch. No. Nothing significant happened, I don't think, when he was on there, did he? But just bizarre that you sign someone because he is a professional. He's been there, he's done it. He's Premier League proven all that stuff. You can trust him to throw him on for, let's say, 20 minutes here, half an hour there, save the legs of some of these other players, and you just don't use it. And I think, obviously, we did the Arteta breakdown a few weeks ago now, but I think this is the sort of thing that he just has to get better at, isn't it? Using players like Norgard to just take the load off of some of the other players.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it.
The stupid thing is, for me, he came in to replace Jorginho, and Arteta used Jorginho really, really well. Dropped him in for those 20 minutes, half an hour there, played him in games where, we needed to rest players, and he put in a performance and stuff like that. I'm not having it that Norgard couldn't have been that same player. Yeah,
Jorginho didn't do a great deal as a player for us, did he? But he just soaked up some minutes. He, was professional enough. That was all he was there for, and
did exactly what he was meant to do.
Yeah,
it makes it all the more baffling that we absolutely ran our starting two central midfielders into the ground.
Yeah,
it just made no sense. But this is what Arteta does, and I think. Look, I'm going to be a bit optimistic about Arteta, and then I just think that it was so critical for him to win last year.
Yeah.
That he just didn't take any chances. He was playing with such a small margin of error that he just didn't take any chances. And I just hope that, moving forward, that he does allow that a little bit. Because, he's got a Premier League medal. But by all means, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't excited about signing him or anything. But he's a good player. And he should have played more for Arsenal. But I hope he can accept the compensation around his neck as our way of saying sorry. and he goes to Everton with our blessings. He's welcome for a pint anytime down in the red side of North London, and I hope we give him a good ovation when he turns up because he's a good lad and he's a champion. So, but more importantly, lads, we've sold a player.
Yeah.
For actual money.
We haven't sent him out on loan. We haven't, we're not paying all his wages. It's incredible. Well, shall we move on to someone else then on that note?
Yeah, please.
Mr. Fabio Vieira. Talking of sending players out on loan, paying their wages, not being able to sell them. There are rumours that, Hamburg, it seems to be he wants to go there, they want him. But, I saw... I don't even know who it was from earlier, but basically that Arsenal were willing to drop the fee a little bit, which is shock to all of us that we're not getting the fee that we wanted for Fabio Vieira. But let's talk about him as a player. Is he one of the is he an underrated flop for us? Because he cost a lot of money, didn't he? And was he? He was about 40 million, wasn't he? Getting on.
It was, yeah.
And at that time, 40 million was worth a lot more than it is now. 40 million now is just almost a throwaway. At the time, 40 million was a significant signing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For all intensive purposes, he wasn't a bad player. A bit lightweight, okay, but he wasn't bad on the ball. But I don't know, man. I think once Arteta turns his head on a player, that's it. That he's dead. He's dead to him.
Yeah.
And I think genuinely that's what happened. He had a really good. I think they were mates as well, but he got on really well with the Martinelli. And they played well together when they were on the pitch together. But I don't know, man. We like with Norgard, we're just never going to find out. We're just never going to know. And he's gone to Hamburg now. And what Arsenal are doing, I don't understand. I think Hamburg's biggest ever signing was like 13 million or 12 million. And we're asking them to pay Hamburg, no, they're just going to wait. And they're going to get him for 8.75. So why not just get on with it?
If they wait long enough, we'll probably send him out on loan for another season and get him even cheaper next year.
Well, we sold Hamburg, the legend known as Sambi Lokonga. Would you like to know, lads? Because I checked it. Would you like to know how much we sold Sambi Lokonga to Hamburg?
It was barely anything, wasn't it? Was it about 3 million or something? How much is it?
Oh, million, you say? Wow.
It's not even that much.
That's a turn up for the books. £300,000, mate.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, yeah. You want 18 odd million quid out of Hamburg? I don't think it's going to happen, man. Not after what they did. Not after what they did with Lokonga. So, yeah.
I'm not saying he is the player, but he could play across. The free behind the striker, and he could play sort of in any positions. He could play in midfield. We sort of need some of these players, don't we? That we can keep around. Smith Rowe. I don't think either of them are, necessarily the answer, but they're useful squad players, aren't they? And I don't know.
No, I loved Smith Rowe, man. I wasn't happy about that.
They're not squad players, are they?
How are they not squad players? I don't understand how they could not be a player that can cover a few positions and take minutes when you're running Saka into the ground.
Smith Rowe, for me, I absolutely love Smith Rowe. I really wanted it to work out for Smith Rowe. But he's made of plasticine. You're not going to get what you need out of him. He's going to spend more time in the physio's room than anything else, unfortunately. And with Fabio Vieira, it sounds bad, this, but he's a Carabao Cup player at best.
Yeah, but I think you need some of them. That's what I mean by squad player. I think you need some of them players in there so we're not playing Saka at away in the Carabao Cup third round and stuff.
All right.
That's what I mean by squad player. Someone to
get
play that time.
Totally get where you're coming from. So Carabao Cup lasts until what, March? The finals in March. Semi-finals are in February. So you're going to pay this guy to play 3 games and not play again after January, because I wouldn't want to see him in a semi-final or a final either.
Yeah, but you got the FA Cup, you got dead rubbers at the end of Champions League group stages. I just think
so we're
a versatile player. I think the versatility. It's not even necessarily him specifically. I just mean a player like him that's versatile, that can, cover a few positions. I think that's how you build a squad. I think you need them players. Look at Ferguson back in the day. He had so many of that type of player that could, they weren't necessarily world beaters in any way, but they could cover 3 positions. They were like third choice in 3 positions, and I think they're so valuable in squads. I think it's something that Arteta needs to get better at.
Yeah, I agree. Tuchel did the same for England.
Fair point.
Tuchel did the same for England. That went well.
Fucking Tuchel. That's just got me mad all over again. Yeah.
I'm just saying, I agree with you, Dave. You need these players in the squad. You absolutely need. There isn't a player out there anymore who can only play one position and get by in life. That day is gone. Fives, you've been asking for a specialist.
Yeah.
And then we've also spoken about how small that net of players is that have a specialist position anymore, because you're not allowed to do it anymore. Yep. If you want to be a top player, you have to play anywhere on pitch, basically. You can maybe specialise it in one position, but you've got to be really very good. Yeah, you've got to be really good at least 2 or 3 others. You best believe that. Kai Havertz has made a career out of it. Moreno's doing the same. If we want to keep it Arsenal specific, I just think that people like Fabio Vieira, whilst I totally agree in terms of if you're looking at just positional, bring something. We're better than that. We are better than we can find better players than Fabio Vieira to fill those positions. Now that might come across as elitist or big-headed or arrogant, but I think as a club, we moved on from that from a long time ago, and that's why I feel a little bit sorry for Fabio Vieira. We moved at such a pace from finishing 8th to challenging for the title.
It's a really good point.
I think Fabio Vieira was just a bit of a casualty, where he just wasn't quite up to that standard. I think he could have helped us get there, but because we got there at such a pace, I think it just kind of bypassed him a little bit. But I totally get your point. Like, Wanyeri is a perfect example. He can play so many positions, and he is that guy who I want to come in, because we've seen him do it. Lewis Skelly's another one. He comes in and he does a fantastic job. Does the quality dip from the first 11? Yeah, of course it does. Nobody's got 2 first 11s that they can switch with no drop whatsoever. Nobody in the world can do that. So you're looking for who can do that the least. Where's the least drop off? We've just named 2 players who played in similar positions to this guy straight off the bat, and they've come through the Hale End Academy as well, which I'm always a big fan of.
Nathan makes some good points. It's I think what's ignored in these things as well sometimes is that, and we've just done it with Zolis. Sometimes you take a punt on a player. Looks good. You scout him, got a good touch, good turn on him. It just doesn't work out. Then you take a loss on him. But it's signing someone like Fabio Vieira, as we said, for like 35, 40 million quid. And you take a punt on him thinking, does he become a 60, 70 million pound player? Does he become an 80? Do you know what I mean? And that we've done that with Zolis, I think. We don't buy Zolis at 70, 80 million quid. We've just taken a punt. Maybe we've cut out Brighton or someone like that in the middle and just taken them and gone, right, let's see. We need that player. If it works out, we've played a blinder. If we haven't, then, c'est la vie. And I think Fabio Vieira kind of falls into that category.
Zolis is the new Fabio Vieira. In 2 to 3 years' time, it could be his picture having the same conversation.
Yep.
Or it could be his picture, and we could be talking about him as like, what Eden Hazard was to Chelsea when they signed him, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I know that is a massive leap in both directions. To be fair, I have no idea what this Zolis is like. From what I've seen, he looks great, but we've all watched YouTube clips of players and we've convinced ourselves that they're the best player in the world.
Yeah.
We just don't know, do we?
It's a punt.
Yeah. Yes. Well, from one player we've gotten a decent deal and struggled to get rid of to another. Reece Nelson.
Legend.
I mean, surely he leaves this summer. I don't think I've seen any links to any player, any club. And I had a quick search through before we started this podcast. And I couldn't see anything that looked anything more than just sort of like random stuff. Surely he leaves permanently this summer, doesn't he? Surely this is the year that we finally get him off the books.
Is his contract up?
He's still he's still part of the squad.
Yeah, but I mean, is his contract up at the end of the year? Because that's the only way Reece Nelson is going, mate. There's no other way.
What does that say to Reece Nelson though as a player? What must he be thinking? Reece Nelson's a good player. I think he can play at a decent level, but the fact that nobody's in for him, that's got to be shattering. That surely.
I think
sorry, mate. Go on.
Sorry. No, you go.
I think that's a Hale End bias, mate. You explained Reece Nelson perfectly when you were talking about Fabio Vieira, mate.
Oh no, sorry. I don't mean like he's good enough to he's good enough to have interest from someone.
Have a career. Yeah.
He's not a bad footballer.
I think the problem was he's on about under grand a week with us.
Mad that.
And like he never played. Then he got like a little run of games, scored one goal, and for some reason we renewed him. And I think it was a real symptom of the time where it worked out okay for Nketiah in the end because we sold him and actually got a decent fee. But Nketiah wasn't good enough. Reece Nelson wasn't good enough for us. But because we were sort of afraid of sort of losing other players around that time, we gave them deals and we just should never have renewed them. They were both not good enough for where we wanted to be.
Where are all the people that said we've made a massive mistake selling Nketiah? Where are all the people that literally fought his corner when people like me were saying he's shit? He's shit. And when someone else gets him, they'll realise how shit he is.
There was actually people saying that we didn't need to sign a striker because we had Eddie Nketiah.
Yeah, it was madness.
Yeah,
it was.
It's the same argument. It's the same argument with Reece Nelson. I'll tell you what. God bless Crystal Palace, because if Crystal Palace had not signed Nketiah, you could have had a split screen here with both of them on there.
Yeah. Do either of you know what Eddie Nketiah's biggest goal scoring season in the Premier League is? Just league goals.
No, sir.
Do you know what it is?
No idea.
Go on, both have a guess. Because
it must be when he came in for us when we had the injury crisis up front and he had a run.
Well, he's played 30 games, 21 games, 27, 29. So he's had like a decent run. I know a lot of them are going to be a sub and stuff, but he's had a decent run in teams.
8.
His highest goal scoring tally in the Premier League is 5 goals. And since he's gone to Palace, he's scored 3 and 2. Obviously he scored some cup goals here and there, but I think people liked him because when he took over from Lacazette, he was, it was whatever was left of Lacazette. He wasn't exactly a runner at the time, and then by the end of his time with us, he was even worse with that. And then it just used to run around a bit, and it sort of looked like he had a bit of energy and looked something we didn't have. But it wasn't because he was good. It's just that what we had before was just terrible at the time. So I hated him at the time. Well, I hated him because I like him. He seems like a nice bloke and that. As a player, when I say hate him, I hated him as a player. I thought he was terrible for us. I thought he was terrible. When he's been on loan, I don't know. It was just, awful times when Nketiah was, as you said, seen by some as the answer at striker.
Is he England under 21 top goal scorer?
He might be, but the only thing I'd say for that is anyone else who's probably had a chance of breaking that record or having that record breaks into the first team by the time they're like 23 or whatever. He was still playing for them.
I think that record was previously held by Franny Jeffers.
I think to get them sort of records, you have to be just good enough, sort of just bad enough, but like good enough, but just bad enough not to go to like make us step up. Because if you're breaking records at that level, you should be getting a chance at senior squad. And
it also means that you played,
but not.
It also means that you played a long time with the under 21s.
Yeah.
To break a record, right?
I kind of feel a bit sorry for him here because we've got a picture of Reece Nelson and we've just absolutely annihilated Eddie Nketiah.
Yeah. Well, I think they were both sort of around the same time, weren't they? They were, same summer. They both got renewed.
At some point, we were going to have to mention that on the pod anyway, because it's true. I also think these guys suffer from I don't know how else to explain this. But a couple of friends of mine and I, when we discuss it, we were discussing it the other day about some of these lads who like Joe Willock is another one of them as well, where it kind of feels like their body doesn't grow up. It's like they've got the same body like when they were 13 and 12, and they've still got this body when they're like 25. And you just think nothing's going to happen with you, mate. Nothing, this is not happening. And so you get this impression that these guys are still like 17 and 18, and they're not. They're really not. And people kind of assume that there's for that reason, there's potential. Oh, if he grows up, mate, he's halfway through his career. It's not happened. It's not happening. And Reece
Nelson's 26. He's going to be 27 this season. It's insane.
God bless him, mate. His wife must be delighted, and all the birds he meets in his life are going to be really happy because he could be 45 and he'll still look like he's, 25. But the point is, as a footballer, what's really sad about Reece Nelson, and I must say this as well, he was a talented footballer. At his age group, other pros have said that he was, top boy. But I make Nathan right on his original point now that we've clarified it. Why didn't he want to go and play football?
Yeah.
Why doesn't he want to do that? But is £100,000 a week a good enough reason when you're actually quite good at football? I mean,
I'm assuming in these negotiations they're told they're going to play.
Maybe the 100K is the stumbling block. Maybe he genuinely thinks that is what he's worth, and nobody's coming in for him because he's completely unrealistic as to what his level is. I don't know.
Look, he could do that, and he's well within his rights to do that, and fair play to him. If that's what he wants to do, fine. I don't get it, mate. You're not going to be short for a couple of quid. There are so many mechanisms that you can have with a club by saying, okay, I'll go for 5 million quid or 10 million quid to, just pick a club, Forest, or maybe he's not good enough to play for Forest, but Burnley, for example, right? They're shit. So you could go to them and, all right, Burnley are going to give me 50 grand a week. Arsenal, you've got to make up the difference to make me go. And Arsenal could just take that out of the money that's coming to them as a transfer fee. Job's done. So Reece Nelson is genuinely a mystery.
I think these days as well, you can see players drop down a level for not like these teams that you drop to, but drop down a level of team and then come back up. Where I think going back sometimes once they drop down, they were never really going to end up coming back. But I think you do see players, move on and come back like you never did before. The amount of players that are ex-City players that play for some of these lower level teams, Leeds are full of ex-City players, aren't they? Well, Morgan Rogers is he was a City player for a bit, wasn't he? And then, gone around and come back. So
yeah,
I do think they can make it. But I think we're going to see a similar story with I can never say his bloody name, Nwaneri. He was obviously sold last year that he was going to get some time. And then we obviously went out and signed 2-3 players in his position. And he barely played, did he? Went out on loan. That's it. It's so hard. You don't want to lose them, do you? But
the thing about Ethan is, lads, he's such a good footballer. He's such a good footballer. And okay, he might not make the grade at Arsenal, but I have a feeling we'll regret that one. He's such a good footballer. He feels like more of a Gnabry than, I don't know, an Akpom or someone, doesn't he? Gnabry went on to be Gnabry and Germany. Yeah. Didn't do too bad, did he?
Exactly. I still remember going to was it under 19 Champions League or whatever when they played at it had been, where would it have been? Can't remember where they used to play. Barnet or somewhere, wasn't it? I think they used to play. That's how much I used to like Arsenal. I used to go to some of them games and seeing Gnabry playing that game. He was just about a billion levels above every other player on that pitch at that time. He was so good, and I was always gutted he never made it at Arsenal. But yeah, he's had a decent career since, hasn't he? So.
Yeah, he has done all right. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like you said, Reece Nelson being 26 is amazing. Yeah. And when you sign someone, Arsenal have literally said, "Here's 100 grand a week. We are going to sign you for your prime," and then loaned him.
Well, look at the Bruno transfer. He's 28, and people are saying he's basically got a couple of years left, and he's done for us. Reece Nelson's only a couple of years younger than that. It's
I know.
Makes you feel old, doesn't it? I suppose
it's a yeah, definitely. It's a mystery, mate. Reece Nelson's a mystery to me, mate. I just don't know what the breakdown of this is, mate. How this works, because we've all attempted just now in 3 different ways to try to understand what he wants to do with his career and what's he looking for, like, you know. Is it the body? Is it stuff breaking down? Like, he's injured quite a bit, but I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think we're talking about a couple of players in Vieira and him who are symptoms of really bad Arsenal sort of transfers and planning. Really, you know, they're just, and then not being able to sell them on. Like, just move them on, cut your losses earlier, and it's like just stop paying their wages to play for other clubs and things like that. It really annoys me that
we've done it. We've done it, mate. We've done it with.
You see Chelsea. It's gone today.
Chalobah.
Yeah. What's he gone for? 30 million. Like, I'm not even asked to sell these players for that money, but just sell them, get them off the books, and, like, you know, I don't know. It's so irritating seeing them go out on loan every year, and it's the same old cycle. But
it's insane.
Let's move on to the last one then before we go on to FIFA. Some rumours about Lewis Skelly and Man United. Do you think there's anything in this? Because they are starting to worry me a bit. Because not worry me, but because I really do like him, I want to keep him. But it does feel like potentially we've got one too many if Bruno comes in. But, you know, players who are going to want actual first team minutes. I think he is going to want their minutes, isn't he, now? After, you know, a good end to last season. Do you think there's anything to this at all?
I heard about 20 million, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's got to be more than that, hasn't it? You know.
Yeah.
If he's not absolutely smashing our club record sale, we shouldn't even be thinking about this, in my opinion.
Yeah, I go with that. I think, but that's only because our record transfer is so low. Let's be fair.
Yeah. But I think you've got to be looking at like 50, 60 million range to even start thinking about it, haven't you? Like, if you're looking at the sort of cost it would take to replace a player like him, we'd be paying more than that, wouldn't we? So get if he played for, I don't know, Porto or something, how much are we paying for him? We're paying a lot more money than that, aren't we? I think.
So it's the same deal with Waneri, isn't it? I kind of think to myself that if Waneri played for Dortmund or someone, we'd be linked with him every season for like 80 million. You know, it's just, I don't want to see Lewis Skelly go. I don't at all. I think I think Arteta trusted him with the Champions League final. That was a big indication for me. And he didn't let him down. Whereas at this point last year, his preseason didn't go well, and Arteta overlooked him for literally the whole season. After an amazing first season at left back, and I think if we have this conversation this time next year, he's gone. If he doesn't cement himself in the Arsenal first team, he's gone. But you can't let a player like Lewis Skelly go if you're trying to build something, if you're trying to maintain something, if you're trying to win everything next year. He's going to get minutes. It's just what he does with them.
No, if I remember in one of our first episodes we did, when we were covering the squad breakdown, we were saying we've got to probably sell someone in there. You know, we mentioned Odegaard, Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of the other players. It doesn't look like they're going to be heading out the door. Do you think that potentially it's just a financial thing that maybe we would look to move him on?
Yeah, I can see him leaving. My head, when you first asked the question, was where Fizes is at in terms of, I think he's earned himself another year. Does he become our new Norgard, the guy who's just there on the off chance, that it gets down to the bare bones? Is he going to be happy with that? I don't think he is. I think he's quite a confident young lad, and I think he backs himself to the moon. And I think he'd been knocking on Arteta's door saying, "You're going out signing all these players, but I'm more than good enough." We are heavy in that.
Oh, sorry.
We are heavy in that department, but by saying that, before we signed Bruno, we were saying we need to sign a midfielder. So if you sign one and get rid of two, well, what you're saying, because you were saying that we needed to get one in before we told anybody. So, you know, it's a hard argument to make, but I don't think Lewis Skelly is far off the level where I think the club are better than him, but it would hurt a little bit more because I think he's given a little bit more, improved himself a little bit more than players such as Reece Nelson and Nketiah, Smith Rowe, all them kind of players. I think he's contributed at a bit of a higher level for me. And I think in terms of a fee, 40 million would be my floor, would be the floor. That would be my absolute bottom line. That's
40 million.
That's where we start talking. No. That's where we start talking. That is where we start talking.
40 million if he goes abroad. 60 million if Man United want him.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I agree with that. 100% agree with that. The fact that he goes to United would piss me off.
Yeah. There's a really good player in there.
And I could totally see why he would want to leave.
Mm.
You know, if you go back a year, he would have been a nailed-on World Cup
starter at the World Cup.
Yeah, definitely in the squad, and every chance he was a starter. You know, he was starting for England, wasn't he, around that time a year ago, and then just got completely frozen out.
Scored in his debut.
Yeah, he beat out Calafiori to that left-back spot for a year. You know, we signed Calafiori, and then he didn't really play that much because, you know, he had his injuries and stuff, but mainly because Lewis Skelly was better than him. And, you know, obviously we changed system a little bit in that sort of sense, and, you know, maybe Lewis Skelly didn't quite fit with that, and, you know, other things that maybe got found out a little bit, but yeah, I could see why he would want to leave, and, you know, maybe it's his side pushing for it a little bit more than anything, which...
No, you make a good point, mate. You make a good point.
I'd love to get other fans' opinions of people like Reece Nelson, Lewis Skelly, Fabio. I'd love to get their opinion, because I think when you're a fan of a club, and this goes for everybody, you know, this goes for all clubs, we all kind of have like this weird protection over players that especially have come through the academy and who we rate much, much higher than what other clubs do. You know, we've spoken about Alexander Hleb, for example. You know, cult hero. All three of us loved him. We thought he was fantastic, but was he? You know, what was he that good of a player? And I feel like this with a lot of our players. You know, we rate them so highly. I'd love to get other fans' opinions of players like this. You know, obviously your Saka, your Rice, it goes without saying, doesn't it? You know, that just goes without saying. But players like this, do we put them on a pedestal too high, and that's maybe why we struggle to sell them or stuff like that? I don't know, but you know, we do the same with other clubs players, is what I'm thinking as well. You know, we look at I don't know, trying to think of like a youth academy player that was highly rated, and we all thought, well, yeah, he's okay, but he's not pulling up trees. Do you know what I mean? Those kind of like mid-level players at clubs, like you said, Dave, those ones that you want to back up the first team. I'd just love to get other people's opinions on those players.
To me, as a 17, 18-year-old, Lewis Skelly is like, there's not many better players that we've had come through, I don't think. And just look at home in the first team at that
absolutely.
age.
Yeah,
I think he's a lot closer to like a Saka than he is to Nketiah, you know, Reece Nelson, all those players. I'm not saying he's as good as Saka. I'm not saying that, but you know,
no, I get what you're saying.
That level as he broke through. Saka at like 18 probably didn't look a lot better than Lewis Skelly did. You know, and Saka's obviously gone on and become what Saka's become. But, you know, if you looked at him at that time, I mean, Saka was playing left back a little bit at that time, wasn't he? You know, when he first broke in, it was as a left back. So, yeah, I just think he's 19 years old and he already has shown like a lot of potential.
Well, that's the main point. I think I was just going to make that myself, was that he's still got time on his side.
Mm-hmm.
And he likes Arsenal Football Club, so you know he could do 2 years before he starts having a bit of a grumble about being on the bench type of thing, you know. And so I think, you know, there's some that you made a good point earlier, Nathan, as well, when you and you did as well, Dave. He got found out.
Mm-hmm.
He got found out a little bit, and what was amazing about him in the first season where he broke through, as you said, he took Calafiori's spot, was that he was fearless. and he would take the ball in a half turn and he would invert inside and he would play like a midfielder and then go on the outside. He was just phenomenal. And then he got found out. And I think I alluded to it earlier. We played a pre-season against Tottenham. He lost the ball on the halfway line and Raya got chipped. I think it was Richarlison, in fact, that scored. But anyway, whatever. And I think from that moment, with Arteta, you can almost pick the moment where he kind of just says, "Do you know what? Fuck off. I need backup here." And it happened to Zubimendi. I think that against Man United at home, he lost the ball. They go and score. And I think Arteta at that point was thinking, fuck me. Like, I'm going to sign someone this summer. Can't be doing that. And I think that he's kind of fallen victim to that a little bit. But had he have not started those last few games and then the Champions League final, I think he may have been on his way out. But I think he just recovered from it. And I think Arteta, someone as absolutely mad as him, will look at something like that and go, you faced up adversity, like real adversity in your career. You got dropped for like almost the entire season. And then you came in and you done a job. So
there's not many. Yeah. There's not many that can come back from that, especially under Arteta as well. And we called Arteta right for that. And I think you make a really, really good point. Is that he lost Arteta's trust, and he's obviously done something on the training ground, got his head down. Like we said, he's a 19-year-old lad. It's obviously knocked his confidence that he's got found out. It would knock anybody's confidence, and he's had to go away and reassess himself, and come back a better player, maybe. Definitely. You definitely saw it, certainly in his midfield game. So I think that gives him a lot of value as well. The fact that he's got his head down, worked hard, got himself back into the squad, and then ended up taking that Champions League final spot over Zubimendi. What a turnaround of a season. So
I think, lads, Zubimendi's more of a risk of departing. Maybe not now, but I think Zubimendi's more a risk of departing than Lewis Skelly is. And I think if we're talking about Bruno's age, well, by the time Bruno's kind of done a job for us, Lewis Skelly's kind of coming into his prime. So he could, there could be a synergy there, which kind of indicates that, there is a planning behind it where he's not quite ready yet, but he has all the raw materials to get it right. And, and we can bed him back in again. Especially because like both of our left backs are like the treatment room a little bit as well. So there's always that kind of stuff. And I just don't think we need money from Man United at the moment. I think we're good. I just think we've got other players we can sell if we needed the money. So in that case, I just don't see him. I just don't see it happening, lads, at all.
I think if I just took even stepped away from Arsenal, I think that would be a really good move for him. If he did leave, from him personally, I think he could do really well there. I think there's a space open for him. I think working with Carrick would probably be good for him. I think it would be a good move, but I really hope it does not happen because I think it's one we could regret, especially as they to Man United. We don't need to take their cash.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit, mate. I just don't think Man United is a good move for him. Yeah. I think it's good for Man United. I just don't think it's a good move for him. I think obviously we're speculating a little bit. We don't know the guy. We don't know his background and stuff. But we kind of find out a little bit through Arsenal.com and everything as well. But I just I think he's a really level-headed guy from a really level-headed family, and I just don't think. I think that kind of his parents. Well, I'm going to go off on one a little bit now, lads. His parents remind me a little bit of Jude Bellingham's parents, and the way they've kind of raised their boy and everything, and they understand how good he is and like what could be done and that kind of thing. And I just don't think they would have. If Man United qualify again for the Champions League and whatever, and are really showing signs of becoming something like Man United again, yeah, sure. That could make sense.
Yeah.
I think there's too much of a risk at 19 years old for your son, right? To take on a big... Man United's a big challenge, mate. Probably the biggest in the league at the moment. Because, apart from Liverpool maybe, because there's no telling what's going to happen. And I think that unsettled environment is not something where you want to put your family's golden goose for the moment. I think leaving him at Arsenal is probably the safest thing to do. He's on decent money now. He's going to be playing games next year. Kind of resurrected his career a little bit with us. I think if he was going to go anywhere, it'd probably be abroad.
You say about his parents. Do you look at what's happened to some of the other youngsters that we have mentioned, and some of their careers have basically stalled? And Reece Nelson's case,
I think
what is his career? I don't know. It's hard, isn't it?
I think Lewis Skelly's already surpassed all of them. Every single one of them. I think he's already moved past that.
Oh, I agree with you, but just in terms of how Arteta does freeze players out, and he has obviously been on the receiving end of that. That must be a hard thing to, you must worry that that's going to be your next 2-3 years. He's obviously mate's been with Ethan. They've come through together, haven't they? And he's gone out on loan and basically not played, and I don't know. It must be a concern.
I think for me, at this moment in time, it's up to Lewis Skelly. That's where my head's at with him. I don't think the club want to sell him. But if Lewis Skelly turns around and says, I want assurances and doesn't get them, then it's up to him what he wants to do.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're at.
It's not that long ago. He looked like a nailed-on sell this summer, didn't he? Probably March. I think we'd have all probably been surprised if he was still here. He hadn't played in God knows how long, was barely playing for us. It looked like just an obvious sale, didn't it? So, it is an interesting one. Well, let's get on to more interesting stuff then. Here we go. Mr. Infantino. Just the worst sort of villain, isn't he? He is just so obvious with it. I mentioned it, I think, a couple of weeks ago, where at least Blatter had a little bit of class about him to, while he's doing you over, he's sort of doing it with a smile. And I see Infantino just, I don't know, absolute creepy bastard, I think. Just something about him just, as always, wound me up. But his latest plans, essentially sell off football, wasn't it? Make himself a load of cash, and then I'm assuming probably move on to bigger and better things for him. Fies, something tells me you're going to have something to say about this one.
Go with Nathan first.
Go on, Nathan. Okay, Nathan. When you saw these plans come out and obviously there's been a big backlash now, and it looks like nothing's going to happen there. And if anything, it looks like it might have cost him his job. But when it first came out, what were your thoughts? Because just disgusting, isn't it?
It was that much of a crazy idea. Just no one saw it coming, did they? No one even considered that this could be a headline at any point. It was just, and that's with all the stuff that he was doing before this. Like, just what? Do you know what? There's like 1% of me that thinks the balls on this guy. I want to applaud him, because that is an outstanding thing to even consider to try and get over the line, given what the response was going to be. So the fact
that's
that
what I think. He must have had some indication that it was good, like someone must have said to him, "Oh yeah, we'll back you" or something. Don't they? Surely somebody's floating it around to people somewhere along the line.
I mean, look at the picture. That's all I'm going to say to that comment. Look at the picture. Who's he been sat next to for the whole summer? We're talking about a businessman who talked his way into the White House. Do you know what I mean?
That's FIFA Peace Prize winner. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? And we're wondering, where the ideas come from. Well, you've got a businessman who got into the White House. Like, a celebrity got into the White House on the back of being a businessman. And this move is nothing but business. And it's just, we talk about, politics can't be involved in football. This is as political as it gets. It's nuts. It's just nuts. It's just absolutely crazy. But I met you around what you said about Blatter. At least we said Blatter, we all knew that he was just a dodgy looking guy, weren't he? Even if he was whiter than white, you'd be looking at him thinking, nah, you're up to something. You're the head of some sort of like James Bond villain underground. No one can see what you're up to kind of thing. Whereas Infantino came in with exactly that face, going, everything's good, I'm here, we're going to say football, it's all clean, blah, blah, blah. And then he's just blatant as anything. Like, it's not even like he's doing it blatantly. He's rubbing your face in the fact that he's just corrupt. From it just, this is like a guy who is seeking power, and when he gets there, he wants more, and when he gets to there, he wants more and more and more and more. He will not. He's one of them people who just won't stop. He won't stop. And the fact that
he was at peace talks, wasn't he? Not that long ago, was it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's just
you're not allowed to bring politics into football, but I'm going to have a crack at these peace talks. Why? What are your qualifications? I don't know what his qualifications are. For all I know, he could have a qualification in that, but I don't think he has somehow.
I think the main thing most of us knew was doing the Champions League draw, wasn't it, for a number of years? That's sort of thing.
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. Look, I think the only good thing to come out of this is the rest of football have turned around and gone, what the get this guy out of here now. You know, at least there's some sanity left. You know, where, all right, we might be corrupt in a footballing sense, but we're not corrupt on a political sense. You know, at least someone, you know, or the rest of the world have gone, yeah, all right, we've all got corrupt shit going on, but this is like, we don't want any part of this sort of corruption. You know, they've almost put levels on how bad things can be.
There is a line somewhere, which is nice to know, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. But yeah, they're just bonkers, absolutely bonkers. But again, there's still that 1% of it that just thinks, fair play to you, mate. Fair play to you for even having the brain power to come up with that and think it was a good idea. That is a special talent.
Yeah.
I don't think it was his idea, mate. I think he's a dickhead, and I don't think it was his idea. I think the gentleman standing next to him, convicted rapist, it was his idea. And first of all, I don't trust that. I don't trust that level of bald. When someone's that bald, I immediately don't trust them, because that's just you. Yeah, there's something going on here. Anyway, that aside, I just don't think it was his idea, mate, because I'm a keen follower of US politics, and this is what Trump's been doing the whole second presidency that he's had. He's just been making a killing everywhere. And I don't think the man standing next to him, whose head is as smooth as an egg, is capable of thinking of that plan. I think he's sat with people and thought, wow, I'm really important. And they've said to him, not for profit? What does that mean? And he's just gone, well, it just means that we don't make a profit. We're a sports organization. He's like, what do you mean not for profit? And he just had to explain that to him. And Trump's just not getting what not for profit means. And then eventually Infantino's gone, what do you suggest then? One of his son-in-laws has piped up and gone, do you know what you could do with all this money? Because essentially the makeup of FIFA is that all the money it makes, all non-profit organizations, they make money, like the FA, for example. And any surplus they've got, they keep in their coffers. That's a not-for-profit organization. There's no shareholders, no directors you give out bonuses to, none. And when we spoke about Chelsea and City, I spoke about the Overton window. And the reason I even know that is because of Donald Trump's presidency. So what Donald Trump does is he will suggest something which is so ludicrous that you'll go, I can't believe you just, I'm going to take Greenland. Greenland should be mine. And in fact, if the US don't want it, I'll buy it. Like, he'll say something so ridiculous that the second thing he says, you'll immediately take as a new position and go, do you know what? At least he's not taking Greenland. But that second position would not have been acceptable had he have introduced that in the beginning. Right? That's what FIFA were doing throughout this World Cup. Reporting so far has suggested that Infantino wanted to introduce this idea during the World Cup. Because guess what, lads? If you allow hydration breaks, if you allow an extended halftime to allow a show, when it's against the rules, mate, it's just written down. That's not how long footballers spend sitting in the dressing room. When you allow that shift, guess what's creeping in through the back door? And the culmination of it is what we saw. Thankfully, people have hated Infantino for longer than he's been president of FIFA or whatever he is at the moment. And I think, is it Alexander Seferin, UEFA president? He's hated him from day one. So he's opposed everything that he's ever, even when, Infantino said, "Oh, that was a good World Cup now, shit." Like, he's that kind of, he hates him that much. But so they've taken advantage of what he's done here. But he's essentially, mate, he's going to struggle to hold on to his job. And rightfully so, because what he tried to do, and we spoke about sporting integrity and all those things, he's presented this as selling off a bit of FIFA. If you join early, so any nation, group of nations that wants to join early gets 40 odd million or 30 million. Don't quote me on the figures, but that kind of number. I
think it was 40.
40. If you join late, you get 10. Do you know what that sounds like, mate? And this goes back to what I said earlier. That it's not his idea. That sounds like Trump's tariffs that he put on all the whole world. If you sign up to this early, lads, I'll do you a better deal. But if you don't, I'm going to smash you with 100% tariffs. That's all this is, mate. So they're not even being intellectual with it. They're not even trying to, trying to baffle you with science. What they're saying is, we've just realized this thing makes a lot of money. How about we sell it off to some of our friends that we know? And what's he done since? He's calling Trump to try to bail him out. Just not going to happen. As I said to you guys a bit earlier, in an interview today, Donald Trump said, "Who?" when the reporter asked him. "Have you had a phone call from Gianni Infantino?" He went, "Who? Did you speak with him about this plan about selling off bits of FIFA?" "No, not me." That's the end of Infantino. So, yes, he's been backed by Qatar. And I think the FA of Lebanon have backed him. It's only a matter of time before, the other motley crew of countries gets involved and backs him. But ultimately, it's going to come down to Europe. And this part's hilarious, right? You'd think with all the money that Europe generates, it should have a bigger say, right? But it's not, because FIFA's, again, a not-for-profit organization. Everyone's got the same vote. So if he gets loads of other countries who are going to say, "What, 40 million? All right," he'll survive, because it's a democracy, apparently. So all weird shenanigans. However, he's overplayed his hand, and hanging around with powerful people, you get a bit of that. You get a bit of that lust for it yourself, and he's gone way overboard. And fuck him. Good for everybody else. Good. Can't wait for him to just go away and never to be heard from again. But if you want to understand from maybe a little bit more of a corporate point of view what he's trying to do, because if it's a not-for-profit organization, he can't take any of the profit, right? So he can't make any more money. Well, he will, if they were to sell bits of FIFA off, and once you do that once, again, that genie's out of the bottle. Yeah. FIFA will resemble more like the NBA, the NFL, where they have commissioners, not presidents. And those commissioners, it's their job to look after everybody, not just the countries and the member states, but also the sponsors, and also and to bring that all together. And so therefore, his salary would have gone up 20-fold, because he'd have been asked to do more work. This was a old-fashioned, and I say old-fashioned, Trump's only been in for a lot in this term, not even just over a year, a couple of years now, sorry. So this was an old-fashioned Trump-style move, and he's not Trump, and this ain't America.
It's funny when I saw about the phone call to Trump, because I don't know how much you really follow golf, but Bryson DeChambeau in the Open got a penalty, and they said he wanted to call Trump to help with towards the RNA. But they're like two of the biggest weasels in sport, Infantino and DeChambeau, two of the worst people in sport. So it just made me laugh when I saw they was just running to Trump to back him up. It's like picking a fight, isn't it? And then all running and trying to get Trump to beat him up for you or something. It's an absolutely pathetic man, and I think it just summed him up as
it says something about society, lads. Sorry to bring up, it says something about society. We had politicians when I was a much younger man, probably the last time Arsenal won the league. We had politicians having to resign over I think one went to prison over expenses fiddling. That was the worst thing they could do. But that's what FIFA used to do. Sepp Blatter, they would just fiddle their expenses and get everything for free. Little drinks here and there. But it just seems to be where we are in the world at the moment. That is now nothing compared to this guy tried to sell football, mate.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I said that about Chelsea and Man City. I said that you can't sell sporting integrity, but now we know what the price is. Well, now you know what FIFA's price is.
We're giving it a good go, in fairness. I think we do have to talk. Go on. There you go.
You can't trust this level of bald, mate. Make it a rule in your lives, lads. You just can't. There's too much bald and too, I
think the dark eyebrows to go with the bald,
Yeah.
And dark eyebrows, there's something shifty about them.
Yeah, I believe so. I
think we'll
get into it, mate. Last thing I'm going to say about it: if you get a chance, read up about Adam Crafton's written a really good piece in The Athletic. I don't always agree with Adam, but he's written a really good piece in The Athletic about it, where it's not just now, it's from the Club World Cup until now, where he promised clubs money, which he hasn't paid out yet. He promised, he's been trying things like this, has Infantino, to make FIFA its own kind of organization, irrespective of having its own tournaments at club level as well as, and he was trying to sell the rights to all these things. So, I'm bastardizing it, but, Adam Crafton in The Athletic, really good article on just how bad Infantino's been. We're just finding out about this stuff now, but this has been in the works for a while now, and even the FIFA Peace Prize, surprisingly, that pissed off everybody around the world in terms of the different football associations, and it was something completely off the cuff that he did, and so he's been at it for a while, lads, and this is just the latest, and that's what I mean. If you push things on a little bit, the idea is to sneak something big through. He just got caught at the doors, lads.
Yes. Well, we have to talk about Wenger in this because he's taken a bit of a battering from some places. Obviously, heavily involved in FIFA these days. So I don't know exactly his role in this sort of things and whether he'd have known anything about it. But in Fires, what do you think about the Wenger stuff? Obviously, people are saying he should come and speak out against him. Where do you stand on it?
Look, just on that particular point, I don't think he has to do anything. He doesn't owe anyone anything. I myself personally have worked for governments and countries where I don't agree with them 100%, and that's part of life. That's part of the world of employment. It's just something that it goes down like that sometimes. I'm afraid I haven't got a better way of explaining that to you, but it's a little bit disappointing because of the image of the man that I have, and we spoke about it on the other podcast we did about the Wenger years, at least the latter part anyway, and it's a little bit disappointing because he was about integrity, he was about honesty and fair play and all those kind of things. People change, that I'll allow him that as well, but make no mistake, he is up to his neck in this, and I'll explain why. He's part of an organization that has been served a legal notice as of today from an American law firm that UEFA have hired, and they have asked every person in that organization of relative authority or decision-making capability to preserve and not destroy all communications and all documents relating to this. So I'm afraid, whether we like it or not, or whether he was involved or not, he's in this. And I don't know what that does for the legacy of the man. It just depends how bad this goes, you know? And knowing football decision-making at the moment at the top levels, probably nothing will happen. Infantino will survive. He'll do deals under the table, behind closed doors with people, and he'll probably survive until the next election, then he'll get chucked out. And Wenger will just continue with dignified silence. I'm not sure his reputation in that kind of way will be served too well by being associated with Infantino, and that's a shame.
Yeah, it does feel like he just doesn't need to be involved in FIFA, does it? Really,
really doesn't.
You know,
really doesn't.
I wish he just had his retirement and sort of.
What was wrong with UEFA? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, but you know,
what about you, Nath? Where do you stand?
You lay down with dogs, eh, and all that.
Yeah. Well, you, Nath, where do you stand on it with Wenger?
I just don't think he's got anything to do with it, has he? It's not what he's in FIFA for. You know, if it comes out and he's directly involved in all this shit, then fine. You know, tar him with the same brush and set him on fire with Infantino. But as far as I know, he is just an employee of FIFA who looks after footballing decisions in terms of, like, you know, offside and things like that. Trying to make the game better. Whether you agree with what he thinks is better, you know, it's a different conversation. But in terms of all this crap, yeah, what on earth has Wenger done to get involved in this other than being an employee of FIFA? I get that being an employee of FIFA right now probably isn't great, but that's like me saying that Jeff Bezos is a bad guy and has done all this bad stuff, so therefore I hate my Amazon delivery driver who actually does a really nice job and has a nice chat at the door when he drops my parcel off. Is he a dick because Jeff Bezos is a dick? No. There's a guy just trying to earn a living, you know. All right, we're talking on different terms here with Wenger just earning a living. Like, you know, I totally get that, you know. But does it tarnish his legacy? No, because his legacy has got absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with FIFA. Like, nothing at all. I
get it. I'm not separating his footballing legacy. What I am slightly skeptical about is that, okay, when we understand, like, I understand the analogy you made, and Adam Crafton's article that I alluded to earlier says that Infantino has made these decisions completely on his own back. Like, he's not consulted anybody for them. So, and
it does seem like that, doesn't it? From the couple of people that resigned and things like that, it does seem like it is a him thing, and he's just gone.
So that's exactly what I was going to say, Dave. There are people who have resigned, and I think at some point you have got to look at Wenger. Now, Wenger, he may take the view exactly what Nathan's saying, which is, what the fuck's it got to do with me? I just deliver parcels here, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's fair enough, mate. No problem at all. But if, just using the Amazon example, if, let's say, one of the directors of Amazon UK come to find out that Jeff Bezos used to go to the Epstein Island and still stayed in his employment, how would you look at that person?
It's tough, isn't it? Because we're talking about a monster now, aren't we? But I get the analogy, but there's two ways of looking at it, isn't it? Does that guy?
It's like people that still work for Trump, mate.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
You use Trump as an example. Like, I mean, he's still involved at Epstein Island, but you know what I'm saying anyway.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, there's two ways of looking at it.
Can't get away from here. I was going to say Musk after this, but he's been there and all.
There's two ways of looking at it. In that there's the people who walk away, take the moral high ground, and all that kind of stuff, and fair play to them. But then there's people who genuinely need that job, that money to live the lifestyle that they've got, whether rightly or wrongly, whether they want to live in like mansions or drive nice cars or whatever, or going back to the delivery driver who's just trying to put food on the table for his family. Do you know what I mean? They're the two camps that you've got.
Agreed.
Is that UK director going to get a job on the back of that he's going to pay as well? That's going to be as to fit his lifestyle. Do you know what I mean? And again, we're talking about Arsene Wenger. Going back to Wenger, Wenger probably doesn't need to have that job, but is Wenger doing it from a point of like, I'm trying to do a little bit of good whilst all the shitstorm's going on around me, kind of thing. There's that side. There's so many different sides of it that you can look at. I totally get your point. From a moral standpoint, everyone probably wants to down tools and go, I can't be associated with this. I can't. Whether I'm earning like 3 million a year or whether I'm earning fucking 30 quid a package delivering Amazon packages, I don't want to be involved in this. And that's, do you know what? Fair play to those people. That is fantastic. But I just wonder if some people take the view of, or you've got the other side of it where they might be thinking, do you know what? Fuck this guy. I'm going to take his money. I'm not going. I'm going to take this guy's money off him because he's earning that much. I'm going to earn my little slice of pie off the back of him, and fuck him, kind of thing.
Completely take your point, mate. So now let's apply that to how we feel about him in his latter years at Arsenal. Just for a second, let's indulge that for a second, because if
you can check that out if you listen to the Emirates Era podcast, can't you? Of course. Go back and listen to them.
Of course. Now, when we discussed it in the Emirates Era podcast, we had differing views. We all ultimately ended at the same point, which is we love the man, but there are some issues. If he is inclined to side with power, to side with to park up that morality, have we to a degree? It's not a black or white statement. It's not a either or type of situation. Have we fundamentally misunderstood him?
Potentially.
Yeah.
That's big, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
He set himself up as sort of, he was sort of almost the pure one when everyone around him was
there you go,
like cheating, as you said. Like he set himself up that, and that's the issue, I think, here. And I'm probably on Nate's side where I would say I don't think he has to say something, but I think he has set himself up as I don't know how to word it, but yeah, sort of almost the keeper of football. He's the one who's like
a moral arbiter.
He loves the beautiful game and like wants that to live forever. And yeah, it is the moral high ground. And I think that's the issue where he doesn't say something, because he has put himself in the position to be that person in a way.
Maybe he does. Maybe he comes out in a little while and says something, and that's the world put to right.
Yeah.
But then maybe he doesn't. And maybe he and like I'll go back to the first thing I said. He doesn't have to do this. He doesn't have to speak to anyone about it. He may have done it behind closed doors. Who knows? And by all accounts, from what I've read so far, not many, but it doesn't seem like it seems like this was a completely independent decision made by Infantino with his new mates, the Trump family, and that kind of thing. Fine. Maybe Arsene Wenger is that way inclined and wants to keep things a bit more private, and therefore keeps it in-house and wants to deal with it that way. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt just because I genuinely like the man. But earlier we were saying about how the other clubs that aren't part of this top six type mafia and that kind of thing, as they call us, they've got reason to be upset at us because of what Chelsea and City have done, right? And how they've been defended. Well, the lads who say, well, Wenger earned a pretty coin from us, but didn't do much for us, and in the end, and still kept on taking his salary, even though he was shot as a manager and whatever. They've got a point now, haven't they? Because if he doesn't say anything and continues taking FIFA coin, he's acting out their worst thoughts about him. And I think when you show people, and this is a litmus test, right? When you show people what you've done in a particular set of circumstances, I mean, he's only human. And fair enough. Maybe he's got bills to pay that we don't know about. But I don't know, mate. Don't fall in love with people you never met. I said that on the Emirates podcast, didn't I, about him?
You did. It's a hard one because, as I say, we don't know just what his involvement truly is with FIFA. I think at that level, but I sort of see both sides. I don't know.
I hope he isn't.
I
hope he isn't. I hope he comes out and just says, "You know what? This is bollocks and fuck this bald bastard." And do you know what I mean? Like, I never trusted him. But no fucking hair on his body like a fucking dolphin. Fucking. Do you know what I mean? I hope he says something like that.
I think it comes back to, by all accounts, Infantino's gone Lone Ranger on this one. So does anyone need to come out and say anything, or is it just that fucking absurd that nothing needs to be said other than, do we really need to come out and say that this is fucking ludicrous? No, we don't.
I think the hard thing is, as I said, a couple of people have, and a couple of people resigned because of it and stuff. I don't know. I don't know.
They're not small people.
I don't think he has to. What's that? Sorry.
I said they're not small people that have resigned. These are like
they were
generals and stuff.
Yeah,
like that,
exactly.
People that are respected by like external bodies, like UEFA really respect the guy that I haven't got his name. Forgive me, lads, but these aren't like delivery drivers. These are serious people that have resigned from FIFA on the back of this. Do you know what I mean? But again, I take Nathan's point. He doesn't need to do it if he feels he's being performative, because that's the last thing you want, is someone to just be performative. And if he doesn't feel like there's a moral outrage, Wenger might have a really smart reason why he says this is the way football's going anyway.
Yeah,
that might be his opinion. Equally, it could be that he doesn't give a shit. Equally, he could still be upset at people flying banners over fucking ludicrous sporting events saying Wenger out, when people didn't even know who Wenger was at that event. Who knows? But it's kind of a big one, and it's kind of... I think someone in that position, this is the best way I can put it, someone in that position, the stature internationally of Arsene Wenger doesn't get to rely on the defense of ignorance.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Just doesn't get to do it. He doesn't get to be, I didn't know what was going on. So what was that? What? Sorry, what? He doesn't get to be Scooby-Doo about it.
I don't think anyone can, though, can they? Because it's so blatantly obvious, like we were saying before. I don't think anyone can use that excuse. I don't think it's just a Wenger thing. That I think that nobody can use that excuse because it is so blatant.
Yep.
Anyone who does that, it's like, right, well, nah, you're making yourself look a dick there, aren't you?
Yeah. Exactly right.
I think it's one of the things that he doesn't have to come out and say it, but I think we'd all just really want him to, to.
But why him? Why him?
But I think because he is part of FIFA. I think he's such a. He has set himself up as sort of like the moral high ground over the years, and with that moral high ground, and like I don't know, I think him in particular is probably best placed of almost anyone to come out and speak, because I think people would
because he's a football man.
Yeah.
Because he's a football man, and all these lot are like consultants and business people and all that, and he's a football man. I
don't know. I think everybody in FIFA needs to come out and condemn it. You can't just pin it on one guy.
Oh no, but I just think Wenger obviously is a very specific one to us, isn't he? That's the thing. I think.
Yeah, I get why we're discussing.
I don't really.
But Figo, is Figo part of FIFA? Luis Figo. I think he might be. There's a couple of
David
players
Beckham is as well, somewhere along the line, isn't he? David Beckham's
like an ambassador or something. It's a fair point.
Everyone along the line.
So should they. I think Luis Figo is an ambassador for football for FIFA, or a serious guy in FIFA. He should come out.
Yeah, they all should, shouldn't they? But again, I go back to what I said before. Is it just that much of a lunatic idea? Do we really need to come out and condemn it? Do we? Is it? I just think it's just too much of a head fuck. Just like everybody in the world has gone, what the fuck? Everybody, every single person, from the delivery driver to the guys who fucking order from Amazon, to the guys right at the very top who have left. Nobody thinks this is a good idea apart from Infantino. and the one or two like absolute nutcases that you have in every single organisation.
So, like with most things, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, and the truth is probably a bit more political than we think, and people are a bit more tactful, or at least playing some more tactics than anything else. There's probably it's a bit like, when Keir Starmer hired Mandelson, and everyone was like, "Oh no, he's got a really good relationship with the US and everything and all that." And then as soon as Keir Starmer resigned, that was a terrible idea. That was. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those sort of is that how politics moves? And I think they've all taken like a political view on it, that like he's made it, let's just hang it on his neck. He did it. Well, have I got to say anything about it? The more I speak now, the more I'm in trouble. So
yeah,
I'll wait.
Yeah, and I do think that sometimes in this situation, sometimes just saying absolutely nothing is the best thing, because whatever you do say couldn't like be so easily twisted. If you don't say anything at all, then you don't put yourself up to extra scrutiny or whatever.
It's the best policy until someone names you.
Yeah,
and then that goes. And I think is it Martin Ziegler who's been writing about it? Forgive me, I forget it. I butchered his name as well. But the journalist, he's done really top work. He's the one who exposed this pretty much all in. And he's called Arsene Wenger's name today. And once someone's done that, it only goes one way, man. It only goes one way. And his name is going to get dragged through the dirt, whether he likes it or not now. And there's nothing you can do about it.
It's easy to throw shit and not give an opinion, though, isn't it? Because you're not going to get caught. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. But like I said, mate, he was the one that broke it. And he's the one that's now saying, like I said, they've been served a legal notice by UEFA that because they're going to call for a vote of no confidence, they do not want any evidence destroyed. And Arsene Wenger falls into that category of important people at FIFA that are going to be subject to this action. Not kind of any kind of sanction wise, but you're a witness now. And I'm totally of the belief, even after reading the articles on it, that ultimately he'll just be a witness, and he's got no decision-making capability for this. I just think that, like it was perfectly said earlier, what can you say to the supporters of the smaller clubs? And I mean that with the greatest disrespect. But, what can you say to the supporters of the smaller clubs that there isn't this kind of looking after of the bigger clubs then? So what are you going to say to the lads who said, no, this is what Wenger's like? Because that's what I'm seeing online. I don't know if you guys have seen it. There's lads saying, look, this is what he's like. This is what he does. And unfortunately, I can't argue with it. I mean, this was the guy, right? Wenger. Sorry, guys. I know we're going on a little bit, but this was the guy, Wenger, who would talk about like how India had a massive population and should be better at football. And, stars could come from India in, 50 years, 100 years time, China the same. And no one ever thought like that about football. And I loved that about him. There was lads from Africa you'd pluck out and they were just sensational footballers. And now, 5 of the top 10 players in the world are African. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he was able to see the game in that way, and he's a football man. So it's sad. If that's what happens, it's sad. But again, I don't hold any kind of feeling that he's going to be incriminated in any kind of way. But he's part of a regime that did this. Like when Trump's out of office and he's going to be pardoning himself and all his kids about all the stuff they've been up to, there's going to be people associated with that are never going to get a job again. That's where we are with Arsene Wenger, unfortunately, lads, whether we like it or not.
Well, I think there's going to be a lot more to come out in the coming weeks and months, isn't there, about this story? So I don't think this will be the last we talk on it. But I think we should probably leave it there for tonight. Well, cheers. There's a couple of good podcasts there with this and Chelsea and City and all of that. That's what the pre-season for, I suppose.
The game's in great shape, mate.
I've just realised we've done two episodes. We haven't spoken a single word about our game we actually played on the weekend. But I'm sure plenty of others have covered them. This stuff's probably more interesting than that was.
we'll review the pre-season in a full package.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about it at some stage. I mean, Max Dowman looked good, didn't he? And
so did
other stuff
Ethan.
happened. Yeah, I think that's probably all we need to say about that game, isn't it?
That's it, done.
Solly scored with a deflected goal.
Havertz.
Well done. Big, massive trophy. Massive trophy. What's going on with that?
There's no need for it to be that big, was there?
Yeah, and the man of the match thing as well was huge as well. So yeah, that was that was the most interesting thing I saw about it.
I did find it funny that Ben White was holding it right near his bollocks the whole time.
Yeah,
and then pointing it at people, just like a pisshead would if they were in Spain at this time of year. He was just holding there, going, "Wait!" That's fantastic. What a guy!
Just very Ben White, that wasn't it?
What a guy! And he was captain for the day, which is even better.
Yeah. Well, that's our big roundup of Arsenal versus. I can't remember who we played. Was it Girona or something?
Girona, yeah.
Yeah. That's how much that game made an impact on me. So, cheers. But we will have some more important pre-season games to talk about, I think, coming up in the next couple of weeks as we see that all the players come back and
get the football back on so we can talk about football, because this is just this is depressing.
Yeah, it really is. But yeah, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us. Make sure you do all those things at Clock End Taproom everywhere. Subscribe down below. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, make sure you do that, because we need those subscriptions. As we get towards the season, you'll get to hear a lot more from us. So yeah, thanks guys. We will see you next week. We'll see you later.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.